Diego, it's a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, we were just saying earlier when we caught up that the last time we saw each other was in Berlin, and that was in
Was it?
2019 before the pandemic.
And then we actually saw each other in Madrid.
Oh, that's right.
wasn't
So it was
Yeah.
really briefly in Madrid.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I remember we were just like running past each other.
That's true.
And now we find ourselves here in Dubai.
Yes.
So
great.
once again, from Madrid, last COP, well, that I attended. I got COVID during Glasgow,
Right.
sidebar.
Right.
But now we're here in Dubai.
Yep.
A lot has happened with you and your organization, Pachama.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah,
Give me a little
I
bit of a
guess-
synopsis.
Yeah, and I can start maybe for the audience,
Yeah, please.
explaining a little bit what we do,
Mhm.
and then I can tell you the progress that we made in the last few years.
Love to hear it.
But yeah, Pachama is a technology startup that has the mission of helping protect and restore nature at the climate scale.
Mhm.
I don't need to tell you the importance of protecting and restoring nature. It's the biggest carbon sink that we have. It's a source of biodiversity, water, and income for so many communities. And we started a company to put technology at the service of funding the reforestation and conservation that is needed to protect nature. And the technologies in particular that we focus on are at the intersection of satellite data, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing and software in general. So in the last few years, what we've been building is a platform that allows different players in the market to monitor and measure the impact of projects that are receiving carbon credits or will receive carbon credits to ensure that the claims that are going to be made about these projects are as accurate as they can be. And today with satellite data, you actually can have a very frequent monitoring by combining different data sets such as satellite and LiDAR and ground truth. You can come out with actually pretty accurate predictions of carbon. And we started by helping companies that were already investing in carbon credits make investments with trust by giving visibility on existing projects, RED projects, AIFM projects, ARR projects. And then we move on to helping project developers get started, helping them build the carbon accounting, helping them design the project for quality, helping them verify and report, and then putting them in front of corporates and financial backers that can get these projects off the ground.
Okay.
And in the last few years, I mean, the company started 5 years ago, so we're still a toddler as a startup.
Sure.
But the company has grown a lot.
And you've raised quite a lot of money as
We
well.
have raised almost $90 million from
Amazing.
the likes of Breakthrough Energy, which is Bill Gates' fund, Amazon with their Climate Pledge Fund, Lower Carbon, which is one of the leading climate tech investors. And today we have a team of over 80 people distributed in 12 different countries.
Wow.
Half of this team is engineers and scientists building R&D for the market. And the other half is, of course, operations and go-to-market, but people also connecting with those partners on the ground that will implement this next generation of projects that we all want to see in carbon markets.
So Diego, you just outlined essentially your initial impetus was to provide a service to the buyers of carbon credits. Effectively, and I'm paraphrasing here, essentially, so correct me if I'm wrong, but leveraging technology to provide confidence to help to substantiate those claims. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've also mentioned that there's a kind of evolution that you noticed that there was other segments of the market that your technology could also be leveraged to provide solutions for. And you named specifically the project developers. So you mentioned firstly buy side, now sell side.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that sell side component? Because it's really critical, because in my personal opinion, I think we had a conversation earlier with in a round table around pushing a transition towards higher quality.
Yeah.
It would seem to me from the outside that your technology helps to effectively underwrite that transition. Is that correct?
Yes. A joke that I like to make is that there are more Michelin-rated restaurants in New York City than there are forest carbon projects around the world.
Really?
It's a tiny, small number. There are 400 Michelin restaurants in New York.
Wow.
And there are less than 400 forest carbon projects that have credits in the world.
That's incredible. That's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. Meanwhile, there is almost billion hectares of land available for restoration without competing with agriculture and urbanization. And of course, billions of hectares of tropical forest that is standing, that is under threat of deforestation. So we saw that and we were like, how come there's so few projects? Well, the answer is that today the process of getting a project off the ground is so manual, so ad hoc, that it's impossible to scale. So we thought, well, technology, one of the main values of technology is that can help scale things.
Yeah.
If you look at Uber, Uber is a company that allowed every city in the world to have ride hailing of cars, right? Airbnb allowed millions of homeowners around the world to make an income from their homes and millions of travelers to get access to those homes. So we thought, well, technology can actually play a role here, unlocking the possibility of these millions of hectares that are available for restoration and conservation by standardizing, automating, and making it easier for project proponents of different types to get started. So one of the first things that we built is a land qualification tool, in which you upload a map, or you can just build a map on or a platform.
Yeah, and then you can map your polygons effectively.
You map your polygon, and we first tell you whether it applies or not for a restoration project, for example. And then we tell you how much carbon can be accumulated there if you do reforestation.
And that's leveraging already the database of information you have.
Behind that, there is a lot of research work to incorporate the best scientific literature on the local biomes. Because each biome is different in terms of the carbon concentration. And but we just make it super easy. You click a button, we tell you the carbon yields, right? And then one step further, you can know how much money you can make. Because if you're a farmer or a landowner in Brazil, in Mexico, you're going to make a choice about what do you do with your land, which is a source of income for your family.
Plant soy,
right,
or raise cattle.
And it's an economic decision,
exactly.
right?
So now,
as much as many landowners actually do care for nature and the environment.
Oh, it's a key driver.
But the economy is, what drives most of the decisions, right?
Yeah. So it's a rational action, right? By rational economic actors in this case that are denigrated oftentimes, but without the information, they're making decisions in the absence of that information.
Exactly.
Because how much is the cost of the carbon?
Prior, you have to wait months until some experts make an estimation of how much money you can make.
Yeah, and oftentimes those experts come at significant cost, essentially.
Exactly.
As well.
You got to pay
do a
upfront
site visit. You got to pay
know how much money you can make.
Exactly.
So we're trying to switch the equation there. We tell you right away how much money you can make, and then hopefully you can go through a series of steps in our web platform that walk you through the process, at the end of which there is money, right? And in the other side, there are corporates and there are investors that want to invest in these projects, for whom also was difficult to get access to these projects in the early stages. And now we're actually making it very visible to see the pipeline of projects. And I think we believe that this is going to be a big unlock for the next generation of projects in which, as you said, quality is paramount. And quality really means conservative and accurate carbon accounting, fair share of the flow of capital with the landowners and the communities and everybody involved, ecological positive impact, meaning making sure that the local ecology, the biodiversity, the water gets benefited from this, and of course, making sure that everything happens with transparency.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the holy grail here, essentially around integrity, right?
Yeah.
There's this constant debate around integrity, and this drive towards high quality. Essentially, you're providing tools that help to enable that.
That's right.
So that's fantastic. I'd like to ask you now something that's, I guess, pertinent to the global north. As we see the evolution of, let's call everything from this time point backwards, carbon markets 1.0, and from let's say from now onwards, carbon markets 2.0.
Yeah.
How do you see the markets evolving and effectively maturing over the next decade or so? Because a critical decade to have action, and this is a tool that's necessary in order to impact and deliver on that action.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, as you know, there's been a lot of noise in the market as of lately, from John Oliver to other newspapers reporting on problems in the market of the past. And we thought that this was an important thing to look at what were the opportunities for improvement in this market. And we're seeing an evolution, really a reset and reframe and reinvest into a new version of the voluntary carbon market and the compliance markets as well. And that evolution is driven by technology, driven by innovation on standards and methodologies and frameworks on how to make claims for companies and how to develop projects and report on projects on the supply side. So we're hearing a lot of conversations here at COP, but even beyond COP about all these efforts that are being done. And we think that it's incredibly important to communicate that, because sometimes what gets communicated is only the problems of the past, but it's incredibly important to tell the stories of how this market is evolving and how it can actually deliver on the full potential that carbon markets have on driving climate finance to these critical solutions. And there are some incredible stories that need to be told about projects on the ground that are having impact, and then about the technology and the science that continues to be incorporated into the market. So I'm actually quite optimistic about this new generation, and I guess a call to communicators and journalists and those who want to tell true positive stories. There's a lot of stories to be told here, and I think that is important for the future of the planet.
Couldn't have said it better myself. To be fair, that's the impetus for this channel.
Great.
Right? This is what I'm trying to do. As a proponent of this market, I feel incredibly passionate and I feel an obligation to be able to communicate not only the bad, but the focus on the good. Because I think that overwhelmingly, and to be fair, I think this is carbon markets 3.0, but it's semantics. Sure. But the foundational elements that have been built in the past, we're utilizing that foundation. We're just improving.
Totally.
Like any other market, it continues to evolve.
Industry.
And I think the role of the media certainly is to effectively hold up a mirror and criticize. Sure. And I think that, to your point, the criticisms were warranted in certain elements of it. Some were not. Some were sort of just made a little bit too sensationalistic.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But if we come down to the basics, there were issues and instances of overcrediting. Yeah. Was it systematic? Yeah. I don't think the answer is yes. I think it's no. But I think now that there's this reflection, okay, we need to improve and have a higher bar of quality, that the standards have now reacted to that.
Totally.
Importantly, Vera just came out with a new methodology, and now they have a revised baseline that's much more conservative, and they have the approach now for actors to effectively retrospectively apply for that as well for historical emissions.
Totally.
All of this is essentially future-proofing the market.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that we don't want to conflict the systemic issues in the market. There are very few, quite frankly. Yeah. And the media's role is important, but I think we also have a role to play to help to educate media. Yeah. And that was the key driver here. I want to feature proponents of this market that are passionate, like yourself and others, and then also to challenge the media narrative, because they're led by a very simple premise, which is if it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
And so whenever there's good news, they disregard it because it's just not going to get the clickbait approach that they are driven by. So then instead, they just continue to focus on beating this dead horse. Yeah. And that's not helpful because this is such a powerful tool, this being carbon finance, that it can channel finance to where it can deliver impact to these communities and protect the natural biomes at such a significant scale. Totally. That it's really important. We have an obligation as proponents to really stand up and say, hey, this is really important. Yeah. Stop throwing sand in the gears. Totally. What do you say to that diatribe?
Yeah, no, I love to say that a tree that falls makes more noise than a forest that grows. Yeah. And there is a forest growing of innovation and technologies that are bringing this market to the next level. Mm-hmm. And we need to tell that story, even if it's less sensationalist and will drive less clicks.
It's slow and
it's a true story and it's important.
It's a true story. But I think that truth prevails over time. Yeah. That as communities start to speak up, as we start to see this increasing pressure with regards to deforestation, and we're already shooting past our carbon budget, there is no more time to fuck around. Excuse the language, right? Yeah. And so we need to actually harness the tools that we have in order to deliver on these promises, because otherwise it's just hot air.
Totally. But congratulations on this initiative. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to the next episodes.
Cool, man. Well, I'll have to catch you properly for a sit down and a drink next time I'm in California.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rene.
man. Appreciate it.